As the world descended into the utter chaos that was World War II, a hidden element was at play within the ranks of Nazi soldiers. Facts First presents the secret drug that Nazi soldiers used during World War II. The rise and fall of meth in Nazi Germany. The complicated story of methamphetamine in Nazi Germany begins with its introduction in the late 30s under the brand name Pervitin. Initially marketed as a miracle drug, Pervitin quickly gained popularity across German society, from housewives to factory workers, for its ability to boost wakefulness and focus. But its most profound effect was undoubtedly within the German military. The Wehrmacht, the German Army, and Luftwaffe, Air Force, were among the first military forces to institutionalize the use of methamphetamine as a tool to enhance soldier performance. The idea was to create super soldiers, men who could march longer, fight harder, and stay awake for days on end. The initial results seemed promising, with soldiers reporting feelings of invincibility and tireless endurance, able to march vast distances without rest. But this short-term boost came with long-term consequences. Dependency, health deterioration, and mental instability soon followed. Reports of hallucinations, psychotic episodes, and increased aggressiveness began to surface, painting a grim picture of the drug's impact on the human psyche and body. The Nazis' reliance on stimulants wasn't limited to methamphetamine. A wide range of other substances, including cocaine and opiates, were also explored for their potential military applications. Cocaine, for instance, was tested for its use in enhancing pilot performance, particularly for its ability to heighten alertness. Moreover, the Nazis experimented with a cocktail of drugs, including a mix of oxycodone, a potent opioid, cocaine, and methamphetamine, known as D9. This concoction was tested on concentration camp inmates to create an even more potent stimulant for soldiers. The German chemist Friedrich Hauschild, aware of the American amphetamine Benzedrine, synthesized methamphetamine while working for Temmler Work, a Berlin-based pharmaceutical company. Pervitin was launched in the winter of 1937 and quickly became well known, thanks to an aggressive advertising campaign. The drug's most significant use, however, was on the battlefield. Dr. Otto F. Ranke, director of the Research Institute of Defense Physiology, saw Pervitin as a means to defeat the enemy with chemically enhanced soldiers. After testing the drug on medical officers, Ranke believed it could be used to remove natural tiredness using medical methods. He was a daily user, as were many officers. Pervitin was first administered to soldiers of the 3rd Tank Division during the occupation of Czechoslovakia in 1938. The invasion of Poland in September of 1939 served as the first real military test of the drug in the field. The Blitzkrieg strategy, emphasizing speed and surprise, was facilitated in part by the use of Pervitin, allowing soldiers to push forward relentlessly day and night. Despite growing concerns about the addictive potential and negative side effects of Pervitin, its use grew. Between April and July of 1940, German servicemen received more than 35 million methamphetamine tablets. The drug, believe it or not, was even distributed in the form of chocolate bars for that extra jolt of energy during critical missions. Not surprisingly, the prevalence of these stimulants also led to increasing cases of addiction among soldiers and aviators, further exacerbating the already brutal nature of the war. The widespread use of Pervitin also raised ethical and medical concerns. The military's health division began to voice worries about the drug's side effects and the potential for addiction. By 1941, Pervitin was classified as a narcotic in Germany, and its distribution became more strictly controlled. Despite this, its use among troops continued, often with little regard for the official regulations. The impact of the drug on the overall effectiveness of the German military remains a topic of debate among historians. While it undoubtedly allowed for prolonged exertion and temporary heightening of senses, its detrimental effects on the health and mental stability of soldiers can't be overstated. The reliance on such substances reflected the extreme measures the Nazi regime was willing to take to achieve its goals, often at the expense of the well-being of its own people. Parallel practices. The use of performance-enhancing drugs in warfare wasn't exclusive to Nazi Germany. The U.S., among other nations, also dabbled in the use of stimulants for their troops. During World War II, American soldiers were given amphetamines to sustain prolonged combat operations. These drugs were seen as a necessity to maintain alertness during long missions, especially for pilots. The American approach to stimulant use was somewhat different from the Nazis. While the Germans distributed methamphetamine freely and in large doses, the U.S. military was much more measured in its distribution. Nevertheless, the reliance on these drugs pointed to a common belief in their strategic value on the battlefield. The U.S. military's use of stimulants persisted after World War II, with amphetamines being distributed to soldiers during the Korean and Vietnam Wars. This demonstrated a lasting belief in the effectiveness of stimulants for soldier endurance. Ancient times to the Middle Ages. The practice of using stimulants and hallucinogens in warfare has ancient origins, with evidence suggesting a widespread use across various early civilizations. The Assyrians, known for their formidable military prowess, are believed to have used natural stimulants to enhance their soldiers' endurance and aggression in battle. Similarly, ancient Egyptian warriors reportedly used extracts from plants like blue lotus, which had mild psychoactive properties, to induce a state of heightened awareness and focus. In ancient Greece, there are accounts of warriors using wine mixed with other substances to fortify their courage. This practice was not just about intoxication, it was a calculated method to reduce fear and increase aggression. Moving on to the Roman era, there are indications that Roman soldiers used various herbal concoctions to maintain energy levels during their extensive campaigns. The Middle Ages saw this tradition continue, most notably with the Viking berserkers. These fierce warriors were said to consume hallucinogenic mushrooms, specifically Amanita muscaria, to enter a trance-like state known as berserker rage. This state was characterized by a seemingly superhuman ability to endure pain and inflict damage without fear. This practice was not only about physical enhancement, but also had a psychological impact, both on the berserkers themselves and on their enemies, who often viewed them with a mix of fear and awe. Modern use of wartime drugs. In more recent conflicts, the use of drugs by military personnel has persisted. During the Gulf War, the U.S. military used amphetamines to maintain pilot alertness during long missions. In the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, the use of prescription drugs among U.S. troops became a concern, with reports of widespread use of painkillers, antidepressants, and sleeping pills. Non-state actors like terrorist groups and insurgent forces have also utilized drugs to enhance combat performance. For example, ISIS fighters in Syria and Iraq were known to use a stimulant drug called Captagon, which increases alertness, reduces fear, and suppresses pain. As we look into the future, the role of drugs in warfare is ever evolving with ongoing advancements in pharmaceuticals and military technology. Now it's time to hear from you. What was the most surprising part of this story? Let us know in the comments section below.